I used to line my shoes up under the cot every morning so I wouldn't forget where they were. That was the rule I made for myself after the third time someone else walked off with them. Not out of cruelty, just need. The shelter ran on need. You learned that quickly, or you learned it painfully. Most days blurred. I signed in, signed out, folded my blanket tight enough to pass inspection, and spent hours walking because walking costs nothing. I learned which public bathrooms were unlocked before noon, which libraries didn't mind if you sat without opening a book, which cafes poured water without looking at you twice. Survival became quiet, almost professional. That morning was no different until it wasn't. I was stepping out of the shelter, adjusting the strap of my bag, when a voice cut through the air, sharp, offended, unmistakably angry. "What are you doing here?" I turned. He stood across the street like he didn't belong to the city at all. Tailored coat, driver idling behind him, posture straight with a kind of confidence that didn't ask permission. My grandfather. He looked at the shelter sign, then back at me, eyes narrowing not with concern, but disbelief. "Why aren't you using the house I gave you?" The question landed wrong. Not heavy, hollow, like it had missed its target entirely. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, and hated how small my voice sounded even to me. He took a step forward. "Don't play games. I transferred it years ago. 2 bedrooms, paid in full." People had slowed, not staring exactly, but aware. That feeling crept in. The sense of being publicly misaligned with the world, like your private life had spilled onto the sidewalk. My mom's car pulled up then, too fast, tires biting into the curb. She must have followed him. She always did, in one way or another. She didn't look at me, she looked at him. "I was going to tell you today," she said quickly. "I just hadn't found the right moment." "Tell me what?" he said. She swallowed. "That I gave it to my sister. She needed it more." The words didn't hurt the way I expected. They clarified. That was worse. "I didn't know," I said, because apparently I still needed to say it out loud to believe it. She finally looked at me then, eyes flicking over my coat, my bag, the shelter door behind me. Something like shame crossed her face, but it didn't stay. "You always land on your feet," she said. "She has kids." My grandfather went quiet. That silence had weight. I'd seen boardrooms empty under it. "Did you have the legal authority to transfer that property?" he asked. She hesitated half a second too long. "You gave it to the family." "I gave it to my granddaughter," he said, calm, exact. No one raised their voice after that. He turned to his driver. "Call legal." My mom reached for his sleeve. "This doesn't need to be a scene." "It stopped being that when you lied," he said, and gently removed her hand. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exposed, like the story of my life had been misfiled and someone was finally pulling the folder. 30 minutes later, police cars lined the curb. Not flashing, not dramatic, just present. Officers spoke quietly with my grandfather, with my mother, with someone on the phone who used words like unauthorized transfer and temporary occupancy. My aunt arrived crying, my cousins stayed in the car. No one asked me how long I'd been at the shelter. An officer eventually approached me. "We're going to need you to come with us for a statement," he said, respectful, neutral. I nodded. It felt easier than speaking. At the station, everything moved slowly. Paperwork, dates, signatures. I answered questions with facts, not feelings. The house had never been mine in practice, only in paperwork. I had never had keys. I had never been told. "That matters," the officer said, noting something down. My mom didn't look at me when they explained the investigation. She stared at the floor like it might open. By evening, my grandfather offered to take me somewhere warm. Not the house, somewhere neutral. In the car, neither of us spoke for a long time. "I should have checked," he said finally. Not an apology, an admission. "Yes," I said. He nodded, accepted it. The house took weeks to resolve. Legal processes don't care about feelings. My aunt moved out quietly. No charges were pressed, but the transfer was reversed. The house sat empty for a while, like it was waiting to see if I'd come. I didn't rush. I found a small room to rent first, signed my own lease, bought my own dishes from a thrift store, learned the sound of my own door locking behind me. My mom texted sometimes, messages without questions, statements about how hard things were. I didn't respond. When I finally stood in the house months later, keys cool in my hand. My palm, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like alignment, like the world had snapped back into something closer to true. I didn't invite anyone over. I lined my shoes up by the door anyway. Old habits don't disappear just because circumstances improve. But when I woke the next morning, it was quiet in a different way. Not survival quiet, chosen quiet. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was borrowing space from a life that belonged to someone else.